Have you ever asked someone how they're doing, and they smiled and said, "I'm fine," but something in their eyes told you they weren't fine at all? Or maybe you're the person who keeps everything inside, who says everything's good, even when you're struggling, who handles difficult moments completely alone. Why do some people find it almost impossible to share what they're really feeling? Is it because they don't trust others? Because they think their feelings don't matter? Or because somewhere along the way, they learned that keeping things private was safer? Today, we're diving into the psychology of people who hide their feelings. What you're about to learn might help you understand yourself better, or help you connect more deeply with someone you care about. So let's explore what's really happening beneath the surface. You might recognize this pattern in someone you know. They're the person who always seems calm and collected, even when life gets chaotic. They're the one who says, "Don't worry about me," while clearly dealing with something difficult. They might be the friend who listens to everyone's problems but never shares their own. The person who changes the subject whenever conversations get too personal. Who answers, "I'm good," automatically, without even thinking about whether it's true. Or perhaps you see yourself in this description. Maybe you've noticed that talking about your feelings makes you uncomfortable. Or maybe the idea of opening up to someone, even someone you trust, feels awkward or unnecessary. Millions of people around the world process their emotions privately, and understanding why this happens starts with looking at how this behavior develops. In fact, psychology has a specific name for this very pattern. Psychologists call this pattern emotional reserve, or private emotional processing. It's when someone prefers to handle their feelings internally rather than sharing them openly with others. But here's what's important to understand. This isn't about being cold or distant. People with emotional reserve aren't lacking feelings. In fact, they often experience emotions quite intensely. The difference is in how they choose to process those emotions. While some people think out loud and need to talk through their feelings, others prefer to reflect quietly and work things out internally first. Neither approach is better or worse. They're just different ways of understanding and managing our inner experiences. This pattern usually begins forming in childhood. The environment we grow up in teaches us how to handle emotions, and those early lessons often stay with us into adulthood, shaping how comfortable we feel sharing our inner world with others. So let's go back to where it all began, and trace how this pattern actually takes shape. Most people who keep their feelings private didn't wake up one day and decide to do this. Instead, this pattern developed gradually through their life experiences. Let's explore the main ways this happens. Children are incredibly observant. They watch how the adults around them handle emotions, and naturally copy what they see. If a child grows up with parents or caregivers who rarely discuss their feelings openly, the child learns that this is the normal way to handle emotions. They might think, "Oh, this is what grown-ups do." They figure things out on their own. This learning happens without anyone explicitly teaching it. It's simply absorbed through daily observation. Different families and cultures have different beliefs about emotional expression. Some families emphasize independence and self-reliance. In these environments, handling your own problems is seen as a sign of maturity and strength. Children might hear phrases like, "You're so strong," or "I'm proud of how you handle things on your own." While these messages come from good intentions, they can teach children that needing support means you're not capable enough. Over time, asking for help starts to feel like admitting weakness. Sometimes, the pattern develops from specific experiences. Imagine a child who tries sharing something that feels important to them, but the response they get is dismissive or distracted. Maybe they're told, "It's not a big deal," when it felt significant to them. Maybe the adults around them were too busy to really listen. After a few experiences like this, a child might learn, "My feelings aren't that important to others." So they stop sharing and start handling things alone. It's also important to recognize that some people are simply more private by nature. Personality research shows that some individuals are naturally inclined toward internal processing. They prefer thinking through their experiences before discussing them. They feel more organized and clear-headed when they process alone first. This isn't something wrong with them, it's just how their mind works best. Here's something interesting that people rarely talk about. Sometimes people keep feelings private because it actually works well for them. They've discovered that quiet reflection helps them understand themselves. They feel capable and competent when they solve their own problems. This positive experience reinforces the behavior, making it their preferred approach. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because not all private processors are the same. Not everyone keeps their feelings private for the same reason. Research and clinical observation have identified 6 common patterns. Understanding which one fits you, or someone you know, can provide valuable insight. Type 1. The independent thinker. Independent thinkers strongly value self-reliance and personal capability. They believe that understanding their own experiences is their responsibility. They're not avoiding others. They simply feel most clear and effective when they work through things independently. They might spend time journaling, going for long walks, or sitting quietly with their thoughts. By the time they're ready to discuss something with others, they've already figured out how they feel and what they want to do about it. This approach gives them a sense of control and confidence. Type 2. The Considerate Protector. These people are deeply caring and thoughtful about others. They genuinely worry about burdening people with their concerns. They think, everyone already has their own challenges. I don't want to add to that. They're excellent at supporting others, but very hesitant to ask for support themselves. This pattern often comes from a kind and generous nature. They care about people's well-being so much that they prioritize protecting others from worry, even when it means carrying their own concerns alone. Type 3. The Selective Sharer. Selective sharers have learned to be thoughtful about who they trust with personal information. They might have had experiences where sharing didn't go well. Perhaps someone shared their private information with others, or responded in unhelpful ways. So now they're more careful. They wait until they feel truly comfortable with someone before opening up. They typically have 1 or 2 very close, trusted friends, and that's enough for them. With these select people, they can be quite open. With everyone else, they remain private. Type 4. The Practical Problem Solver. These people are naturally action-oriented. When something bothers them, their immediate response is, "What can I do about this?" They see emotions as useful information that points toward actions they need to take. Once they've identified the problem and the solution, discussing feelings beyond that seems unnecessary to them. They're not avoiding emotions. They're just more focused on practical steps forward. Conversations that focus heavily on feelings without moving toward solutions can feel unproductive or frustrating for them. Type 5. The Private Boundary Keeper. Private boundary keepers have a strong sense of personal boundaries. They value their inner world and see it as something personal and special. Sharing everything with everyone would feel like losing something important, their sense of privacy and personal space. This isn't about distrust or coldness. It's about maintaining a healthy separation between their public self and private self. They choose deliberately what to share and what to keep private, and this selective approach feels right and comfortable to them. Type 6. The Slow Processor. These people need more time than others to understand what they're feeling. When something happens, they can't immediately articulate how they feel about it. They need time to sit with the experience, reflect on it, and let their understanding develop naturally. If someone asks them how they feel right after something happens, they genuinely don't know yet. They're not hiding, they're still processing. Once they've had adequate time, they can communicate quite clearly and thoughtfully. This is why they often say things like, "Let me think about that and get back to you." All right, now that we've gone through all 6 patterns, I have a question for you. Do any of these types sound familiar to you? If you recognize yourself or someone you know in one of these patterns, drop a number 1 through 6 in the comments. It's fascinating to see which patterns are most common. All right, we've talked about patterns and types, but now it's time to bring in the hard evidence. Now let's look at what psychological research has discovered about emotional expression and privacy. 1. The personality connection. Studies on personality psychology show clear patterns. People who score higher on introversion tend to process emotions internally before expressing them outwardly. This doesn't mean introverts don't have feelings. They absolutely do. It means their natural style is to understand their feelings privately first, then decide whether and how to share them. For these individuals, quiet reflection isn't avoidance. It's how they achieve clarity. 2. Cultural variations. Cross-cultural psychology research reveals interesting differences around the world. Some cultures place high value on emotional restraint, seeing it as a sign of maturity, respect, and self-control. Other cultures encourage more open emotional expression as a way to build connection and community. Neither approach is right or wrong. They're simply different cultural values. Understanding this helps us recognize that emotional expression isn't one size fits all. 3. The balance question. Researchers have studied whether keeping feelings private affects mental and physical health. The findings are interesting and nuanced. Complete isolation, never sharing with anyone ever, can create feelings of loneliness and disconnection over time. However, having even one or two trusted people you can talk to when needed seems to work very well. The key isn't about how much you share. It's about having the option available when you want or need it. Being private by preference is very different from feeling unable to reach out when you genuinely need support. 4. Processing time research. Some fascinating research looks at how people process information and emotions at different speeds. Some individuals are quick processors. They understand their feelings almost immediately. Others are deep processors. They need more time to fully understand what they're experiencing. Deep processors aren't slower or less capable. Their minds just work more thoroughly. They often develop deeper understanding because they take time to examine their experiences from multiple angles. This is why some people prefer to sleep on it before making decisions or having important conversations. So the research is clear, but here's where it really starts to matter: in your relationships. When someone processes emotions privately, it creates interesting dynamics in their relationships. Let's explore both the challenges and the strengths this brings. People who are more openly expressive might misunderstand someone who's more reserved. They might worry, are they upset with me? Do they not trust me? When actually, the private person is simply processing in their natural way. This is where clear communication becomes really helpful. A private person might say, I'm thinking about what you said. Give me some time to process, and then I'd like to discuss it. This simple statement helps others understand that the silence isn't rejection, it's reflection. People who process privately often provide very thoughtful, considered responses. Because they take time to think things through, they rarely say things impulsively that they later regret. Their words tend to be meaningful and well considered. This brings a quality of depth to conversations that many people appreciate. Sometimes, people who keep feelings private don't ask for help, even when they genuinely need it. Friends or family members might not realize they're struggling because they're so good at appearing fine. Learning to recognize when you need support and asking for it is an important skill for private individuals to develop. It doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're human. When a typically private person does choose to open up, it often means they feel deeply safe with you. Because they're selective about who they share with, being chosen as someone they trust is genuinely meaningful. These relationships often become very strong and loyal over many years. Private individuals are sometimes mistakenly seen as cold, unfeeling, or distant, when in reality, they're often quite sensitive. They just don't display their feelings outwardly. Helping people understand your processing style can prevent these misunderstandings. People who process internally often bring a sense of calm and stability to relationships. During stressful times, their measured approach can be very grounding for others. They don't add drama or emotional intensity to already difficult situations. Instead, they offer a steady, reliable presence. So now the big question: how do you take everything you've learned and actually apply it in a healthy way? The goal isn't to become someone who shares everything with everyone, and it's also not to become completely isolated. The goal is finding what works best for your personality while maintaining meaningful connections. Here are 5 practical approaches. Approach 1. Identify your support people. You don't need a large network of people you share with, but having 1 or 2 people you trust can make a real difference. These are people who respect your privacy, don't judge you, and can simply listen when you need it. Knowing these people exist, even if you don't reach out often, provides a sense of security. Approach 2. Develop self-awareness practices. Create regular habits that help you understand your own feelings. This might be journaling for 10 minutes each morning, taking a quiet walk where you reflect on your day, or simply sitting with a cup of tea and checking in with yourself. The better you understand your own emotions, the easier it becomes to communicate them to others when appropriate. Approach 3. Practice gradual opening. If sharing feels uncomfortable, you don't have to start with big, difficult topics. Begin with smaller things. Maybe mention something mildly frustrating that happened during your day. As this becomes more comfortable, you can gradually share more significant matters. Think of it like building a muscle. You start with lighter weights and gradually increase. Approach 4. Communicate your processing style. Help the important people in your life understand how you operate. You might explain, When something significant happens, I usually need time alone to think about it before I can talk about it. Or, I tend to work through problems independently, but I'll definitely reach out if I need support. This prevents people from misinterpreting your privacy as rejection or coldness. Approach 5. Honor your nature. Remember that being a private person isn't something that needs to be fixed or changed. It's a completely valid way of moving through the world. The key is making sure you have connection available when you want it, not forcing yourself to be someone you're not just because others process differently. Let me ask you one thing. What helps you understand your feelings best? Quiet time alone to think, or talking things through with someone? Share what works for you in the comments. There's no right answer, just different approaches. All right, we've gone deep today, so let's bring it all together and leave you with something meaningful. People who keep their feelings private aren't mysterious, cold, or emotionally unavailable. They're simply individuals who process their inner experiences in a way that feels natural to them. This pattern often develops from a combination of factors: childhood observations, family values, cultural background, personality traits, and personal experiences. It's not better or worse than being more openly expressive. It's simply different. Understanding this can strengthen your relationships in important ways. If you're someone who processes privately, you can help others understand your style, which prevents misunderstandings and allows people to support you in ways that actually work for you. If someone you care about is more reserved, you can show respect for their processing style, rather than pushing them to share before they're ready or misinterpreting their silence as distance. The goal isn't for everyone to process emotions the same way. The goal is for each person to understand their own needs and communicate them clearly, while also respecting that others might have different needs. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from this entire video, it's this. No matter if you're someone who shares openly or the one who processes privately, both approaches work beautifully when they're authentic to who you are. The most important thing is maintaining connection with at least a few people you trust, and respecting that different people find comfort and clarity in different ways. Understanding yourself helps you navigate life with more confidence, and understanding others helps you build relationships with greater compassion. If you enjoyed this exploration of human psychology, you're in the right place. This is UNFELT, where we examine the patterns behind everyday behavior. Subscribe for more insights into how people think and why we do the things we do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.